much.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So today, just to dive deep, I don't want to keep all of us waiting on this call for so long. It's going to be like a 30 minutes conversation about one of the action lines. I'm supposed to take two of the action lines, but I don't think we'll have enough time to talk about the second one. But let's see how it goes anyway. So today I'll be talking about one of the action line. Like we all know, the school, this is majorly about for the Nigeria School on Internet Governance Fellows, prospective fellows. And for this year, we are seriously concentrating on the WSIS plus 20 events and review that we are doing. And we all know what it means by now. We should know that the plus 20 means that after 20 years of meeting and all of the action lines, we all know we have an 11 action lines. So we're coming back to review the 11 action lines to see what we've been able to achieve, what has not been achieved, what are the challenges if they've not been achieved, and things like that. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. Let me just turn that off. I'm sorry about that. So,
Wai yau na kawo gari gidana, ya sun ce ba su.
thing is, if you're not speaking, I think you should mute your mic. After today's after my whole, I think, conversation, then we can now have a question and answer session. If you have questions, you can also drop them in the chat room. We have our other ISOC officers here. I think we have Mr. Biliaminu on the call, and we have the secretary as well, and Mr. Nkoro on the call. So if there are any questions, you can drop it on the chat, or you can wait after the whole lecture, then we can now ask our questions. So for the C2, I know some of us maybe probably in one way or the other we've experienced, challenges trying to, connect to the internet, whether today, whether last week, whether last month. In one way or the other, we've experienced very terrible network connections in Nigeria. Even today, I experienced a lot of terrible network when I was outside. And these are some of the issues that the infrastructure talks about. So the C2 that I'm referring to, or that I'm going to be talking about today, talks about the information and communication infrastructure. And this is one of the key challenges that the global framework are trying to fix. So it's one of the action lines, and that's the C2 action lines. So we know how the internet is changing everything, and we need to make sure that everybody benefits, not just some specific people. So when you talk about the infrastructure, the internet infrastructure or the ICT infrastructure, what do you really mean? So I want us to use an analogy of like the Lagos, or how we see how Lagos traffic is. When you want to move around Lagos, or when you want to move around your own city, wherever you are, what do you need? You need roads, you need bridges, you need traffic lights. If you are driving, you need fuel, things like that. So if you want to move around your own city, those are like the underlying infrastructure that you need for you to be able to move conveniently. Without this, you may not be able to go anywhere per se, no matter how nice your car is, or no matter how fancy the car you're driving is. So that's the kind of thing we're referring to now, the underlying infrastructure, what needs to be there for the internet to work and work well, and for us to be able to access the internet, access information, for us to be able to do what we are doing even at this moment. The underlying infrastructure. And for this underlying infrastructure, I'll just talk about some of the layers or the core layers of this underlying infrastructure when it comes to the internet. The first layer that I want to bring to our attention are the undersea cables. I know some of us have had, when we had the network issues, sometimes you hear, there was a cut undersea cable, there was a cut, or something happened, and there is a cut. Sometimes you don't understand, or we don't understand what this means, or things like that. So the undersea cable, Imagine when you want to call somebody in America. That data, when you call somebody, that data has to travel from Nigeria to servers in other countries. So how does it get there? About 99% of the international internet traffic has to travel through cables that lie at the bottom of the sea or at the bottom of the ocean. So most of this international internet traffic, 99%, have to actually travel through physical cables that are lying underneath the ocean. And that is why if there is a cut, it affects everybody, like it will quickly affect an entire nation because you will not be able to reach the international internet. So Nigeria is connected to the world through undersea cables. That is how we are connected to the internet, to the world, the internet, the international internet. That's how Nigeria is connected to the international internet via undersea cable systems. So some of these undersea cable systems that exist in Nigeria is Main One cable. This Main One cable landed in Lagos in 2010 and has changed everything for us. Before Main One came to Nigeria, Nigeria's internet was very, 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 very slow and so expensive. I don't know if some of us are old enough to remember how expensive internet used to be long, long ago. Internet was so expensive and very, 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 very slow at that time before Main One came and, helped us. And the fun fact to note about Main One is that it was founded by a woman called Funke Opeke, which most of us already know. She saw the problem and she laid a cable literally from Portugal to Lagos to be able to solve this problem. So if you're here on this call, and you can identify problems like this, we still have some of these problems because she laid a cable and she was able to solve that problem. So imagine if we have up to 10 people investing in that kind of infrastructure that comes to Nigeria. You will know that we'll now have cheaper internet, we'll have better competition, we'll have faster internet speeds as well. So I'm just giving you guys business ideas that you could tap into. Or you can come together, seek for grants, and who knows, you can run your own cable, undersea cable to Nigeria as well. Another undersea cable that we have in Nigeria, notably, is the Glo1 cable. And this is owned by Globalcom. And I think it's the only Nigerian telecommunication with its own international submarine cable. You can do your research to find out more. I don't know if they are the only ones, but I think they are the only Nigerian telecommunication with its own international submarine cable. And they lay their own cable from the UK to Nigeria. And that's why sometimes you see Glo's international call, they are cheaper than others. This is just to name the few. So why does this matter? If you wanted to, like I've said before, if we had more cables, this will mean more competition. This will also mean cheaper internet. This will also mean faster speed. It's that simple. So if we have more of this, the better for all of us. Another layer that exists or plays a key role in this C2 C2 action line is the distribution layer. The first layer that I mentioned is the deep foundation layer, which is the undersea cables. This is where the undersea cables come to play. The second layer is like the national backbone or the distribution layer. So after the submarine cables come into Nigeria, the next thing is it comes into Lagos because all of the submarine cables land in Lagos. So from Lagos, we now have to distribute to other parts of the country. So this is now, that's why we call like the distribution layer or the backbone layer. So when distributing, the key people that play a role here, we have the government owned, which is called the Galaxy Backbone. I don't know if some of us are familiar or have heard of Galaxy Backbone before. They are actually supposed to distribute or connect all of us, all of the 36 states plus FCT via cable, because at this level, they all connect via the fiber optic cables that are laid to the various cities. But as at now, I cannot say that they have connected all 36 states. No, that's not true. I know they broke down their own process into like 2 phases. And I think their first phase, they were able to complete and spread the internet or distribute the internet to like maybe 12 or 14 states, I'm not sure. And they are currently deploying for the next stage. So unfortunately, many states are still poorly connected. But what the Galaxy backbone does is because it's government owned, they mostly concentrate on, government owned, maybe ministries, they can get connectivity, you can get connectivity, government ministries could get connectivity through them. I know they have an office in Abuja. I know they also provide internet to some universities as well, government owned universities as well. There are other private providers that also play a role here. The main one also still play a role in this distribution layer as well. The problem here is most of these, if you go to places like Lagos, because Lagos, in fact, all of the undersea cables that come to Nigeria land in Lagos. The problem is as they land in Lagos automatically, that means Lagos automatically, you always have high-speed internet in Lagos. You have cheaper internet in Lagos. You have multiple options in Lagos. But the thing is, it's not only Lagos that exists in Nigeria. Or it's not only Lagos that has a port or international port in Nigeria. We have Port Harcourt. We need to be able to say, okay, some of these cables should land in Port Harcourt, not just Lagos. That way, if they land in Lagos, if they land in Port Harcourt, neighboring cities close to Port Harcourt will be able to as well benefit from this. Another option, problem is that if you go to Lagos, the fiber cable is everywhere. It means fast speed. But when you go to rural places, if you think of states like Bayelsa, if you think of states like Sokoto, if you think of states like even Ebonyi, you can't compare the speed of the internet there. I know when I went to Lagos and when I went to Abuja, my phone will automatically have the 5G. But when I'm back in Jos, I don't have anything like the 5G network. I'm only still limited to my 4G network. And these are the little problems we have. We don't have that. The way the growth of the internet is not spread equally across Nigeria.
Please,
If you're not speaking, please kindly mute your mic.
Noise in the background.
Please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute your mic. Thank you. So another layer also that exists in this phase is the last mile. And this is the final connection that gets to your phone. So when it gets to your state, from the streets now, it gets to your phone or to your laptops. And this is where most of us connect. So, and we all connect through mainly our mobile or cellular network, which is the most common in Nigeria. So this is where companies like MTN, Airtel, Glo, Nine Mobile, and the rest come to play. So, but the infrastructure that exists behind this layer are like infrastructures like the cell towers. I know we all know what the cell tower is, which is like the high steel structure or infrastructure that is built where you keep your radios and things like that. So, and you have like your base station as well that exists at that layer. And this is where this is where things like the 2G, the 3G, the 4G, the 5G come to play at the mobile cellular network. The challenge is in Nigeria now, we have a lot of those cell towers, but we still do not even have enough. I think we have about 35 to 40,000 of those cell towers, which sounds like a lot, but we still need up to 80,000 of those to have the full coverage because we still do not have that full coverage across Nigeria. But the problem is, if you say we need to have more of these cell towers, they are quite expensive to build. They are not cheap to build. And they are also not easy to maintain because of the power situation that we face in Nigeria. So they need constant power. And because of the power situation we face in Nigeria, they always need diesel or generators, and they are quite expensive. And this exposes those things to also be vandalized or be stolen. So people will always want to come and steal from there because they will see generator to steal or see batteries or steal cables or things. There's always vandalism, there's always theft. There are also some challenges that they face at that layer too, are things like approvals. Sometimes they'll say you need to get like a federal approval, state, local government, even you to come out and say before you come and mount like a base station on or in their place, you need to pay or you need to do something or you need to. So this to get those kind of approvals, it's kind of some of the challenges that they face. So if we're not having vandalism, if they were not having theft, if we didn't have serious, power issues, these are kind of things that, when these companies come and they want to do it, they'll be able to be like, okay, we can do this. We are sure that our infrastructure is safe. We are sure that, it's powered. We are sure that it won't be vandalized and that, whatever investment we are putting here in the next number of years, we are getting a return on investment and things like that. So this does not encourage, this telecommunication network to go into rural places to invest because they don't see that quick turn of return on investment when it comes to things like that. At this layer also, we also have things like the satellite network, which is kind of emerging and we are kind of really embracing it in Nigeria, the satellite internet, and that's where like the Starlink comes in. And the good thing about the Starlink is it works even in remote places. So it works even in remote villages that, these telecommunications may not want to go to. And it's quite fast and it's very easy to set up. Like you don't need so many technical know-how to be able to set it up. The only downside is that it's a little expensive, especially for the setup. And then the monthly subscription, not every Nigerian will be able to pay for that. But we see a lot of, Starlink network being embraced in the Nigerian markets, whether being deployed at home or companies or things like that. Then another layer that I want to talk about that is often overlooked is the IXPs, the Internet Exchange Points. Now, the Internet Exchange Point, to put it simply, is like where it's like a marketplace. So let's assume we have a marketplace now, and people from Lagos, from Abuja, from Port Harcourt, from Jos, we all meet in that place and we exchange information, we exchange data, we exchange whatever we need to exchange, and we get what we need to get and we go back. Or neighbors, people within Jos, we come in, we exchange and we go back. We have shared information. But the case is, most of those data or most of those information, what happens in reality is that, let's assume you want to send a mail to, I'm in Jos now currently, and I want to send a mail to Abuja. And my mailing server is hosted somewhere in Europe. What happens is when I send a mail to somebody in Abuja, this mail has to travel to Europe before it now goes back to the person I'm trying to send it to Abuja. And that's a very long route. And that long route means it's going to be more expensive. And it's going to take more time. Even though this is done in nanoseconds that we may not really feel, but this is a cost that we are paying for that. And that's some of the things that why the cost of the internet is actually expensive in Nigeria. But if we had a working internet exchange point in Nigeria, we have internet exchange points in Nigeria that are working, but they are not fully, how do I put it? Not everybody is plugged into it yet. It's still something that they're trying to preach the message about internet exchange points and its importance and things like that. So instead of sending that letter or sending that email to Europe and then it goes to Abuja, that cost is reduced, that time, that latency is reduced. So when I send an email that is supposed to go to Abuja, it actually just travels that short route from Jos to Abuja. And even a reply comes back, it travels the short route as well from Abuja to Jos, instead of going round to Europe and then to Jos. So if we have everybody, if we say now, okay, our IXPs, everybody should connect because when you talk about IXP, what it actually means is you have a switch, is a switching technology that, you know, the internet service providers come and plug. So if we have things like or people like Google, Facebook, or we have our local content that we're even doing here. Or which I'm just trying to think of a simple example that I can give that we can all relate to.
Yes.
Even the videos that we generate here, even though most of this the contents that we generate that are localized here, we don't need to take it outside. That's what we mean. Like it should be hosted here. It should be hosted in the within, our local space. And then if we have a working exchange, if we have an exchange with you, you will not need to have to travel far to get that data. It's something that you will need to just access between us. So the ISPs will connect and exchange the traffic locally. So we have the IXPN, the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, that was established in 2006. The main IXPN that we have is actually located in Lagos, but we have branches in Abuja, we have in Kano, we have in Port Harcourt. So if we have more people, embracing the IXP, we would have cheaper internet, faster internet, more resilient internet, such that even if the submarine cables are cut, it doesn't affect our local content. It doesn't affect us accessing those data because we don't need to go outside to get it. Countries that are really embracing IXP, I'm talking about African countries, are countries like Kenya, where most of their data or content are hosted locally, and you don't need to go outside to access that data. Or outside of Kenya, that's what I mean. I have just 2 minutes. I'm really looking at my time. Then the final player here are the data centers. And this is where like our data lives. So when you post a photo on Instagram, or you do a video on TikTok, or you save a file on your Google Drive, where does it actually go? It's staying somewhere. It's seated somewhere. That data has to be somewhere, and that place is called a data center. So it's just a warehouse full of computers, just a warehouse where your data is stored. Fortunately, we have good data centers that are in Nigeria, and we have upcoming ones that are still being built. We have the main one, again, playing a big role here. They have the Tier 3 facility in Lagos. So for data centers, you have like Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 facility. These tiers or this level of tiers mean that maybe the Tier 1 does not have redundancy. Maybe it doesn't have like power backup, things like that. Maybe data centers that you find maybe in your universities or small data centers. So Tier 2 may have a little redundancy, maybe in terms of power. Tier 3 need to have good redundancy, good uptime, good cooling systems, and things like that. So we have good data centers in Nigeria, located in Lagos, some in Abuja. We have Rack Center, we have Main One, and other smaller facilities as well. So if Nigerian websites and applications are hosted in Nigeria, so if you have those data center now, let's assume you have the Main One data center, and your data is hosted in Nigeria, you will not need to have to go outside to access your data, even if the undersea cable breaks. We know that you can still access Nigerian sites. So that's why we're pushing for the IXP, and we're pushing for your data to be hosted locally, our content to be hosted locally. Although some of these data center experiences some challenges, which is like the power challenge, the cooling system, security concerns, and sometimes skill gaps, things like that. So to put it all together, remember, we need the undersea cable to bring the internet from Europe, from America to Lagos. I want you guys to think about the fact that we need more cables, and more of those undersea cables equals cheaper internet, faster internet speed, competition in the market as well. We need a very good national backbone, The Galaxy backbone is doing well, but they can do better. We have other private backbones doing well as well. We need good IXPs. We need to be able to embrace IXP and allow different networks to exchange traffic locally and think about how, as fellows, um, you will be able to preach or understand first of all, to understand the IXP infrastructure and think about how you yourself will be able to host your things locally and, you know, if possible, join other IXPs within your community if there is any or anyone close to you. Good data center where Nigerian websites are stored and cell towers and fiber cables. All these layers must all work together in one way or the other. If one link breaks, the whole thing just suffers. So, um, I'm wrapping up here. If you have questions, please, this is the time now. Okay, I see one hand raised. Muayyad Surajo, please proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ma. I would like to use this opportunity to thank you for this very informative session. I know me and the remaining pillars have learned a lot throughout the session. So what I'm going to do is a request, please. If possible, if you can share the slides that you have used to us, the fellows, in the general group. That is the only request that I have. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Unfortunately, it was not a slide. I just put together just points that I could remember when I'm speaking. I didn't do it, but I could find a way to make it into a slide and share it. Okay, Olabimpe, please proceed, ma'am. Or sir, I hope. Olabimpe.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Very insightful presentation. I really appreciate it.
Please, Mr. Yahaya Abdullahi, please mute your mic, sir.
Something had bothered me for some time now. I will try and just paint the scenario, and I hope you understand, and I want the reason behind it. Now, when you roam, okay, you are in this country, your data is running and it's pretty good. Excuse me, but the moment you change country and you are roaming, then the charges is like extremely high. And I once experienced having I didn't do so much, but I spent like over 40 gig in less than 24 hours. So I was wondering what happened. I was in transit. So what did I do? The only thing I was doing as I was going en route was just to communicate with colleagues and family members. Okay, I've gotten here. This is where we are now and all. Nothing more, nothing much, no video download, nothing. And it has happened again and again. Of course, that was what gave me an hint into looking into it, because it was very, I felt the weight. It was like, how will I do? What happened to 40 gig in less than 24 hours? So now I kept wondering, so why do we have so much high rates on roaming? Is it because our exchange points are not evenly distributed? What happens exactly? I wish I could have an explanation to it. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I clearly get what you're saying, and I experienced this once, and I learned the hard way. And anytime I travel, I just quickly turn off. I don't put anything roaming at all. like just connect to a secure public Wi-Fi. So sometimes what happens is when you travel outside of this country, if there are no, let's assume you're using MTN now and you're roaming MTN in another country, MTN will have to pay that country another, like that country's internet provider, an extra fee, like a foreign fee. I don't know if you get what I mean. MTN will have to pay that provider because MTN does not know that provider and you want to use your own network there. So it's just like MTN is paying another provider to use their own infrastructure. So MTN is more or less using a foreign infrastructure. So an MTN will not pay for it. They will pass the costs to you. It's not only them that will suffer that cost. In fact, they will not take the cost. It's you that will pay for that cost. So you are entering another country. MTN will have to borrow the infrastructure of that country if you choose to roam. So it's unlike when you are in your home country and you say, okay, at home you pay 10 gig per month and whatever. When you pay 10 gig per month at home, MTN has infrastructure. They have the entire infrastructure. So that cost is on them because they own that infrastructure. But abroad, first of all, you are billed pay as you go because you're a visitor. Your Nigerian operator, which is MTN in this case, will have to pay every foreign network for that every MB that you use, for every MB or every gig. So for you to use that 40 gig, know that MTN has paid in one day. MTN would have to have paid. It's just like borrowing foreign infrastructure. And their own billing or roaming requires like extra system to track and is not cheap. So sometimes if your if MTN does not have, sometimes they need to have agreements for it to be a little cheaper. And that's why if you go to countries that have that same network, maybe if you go to places like Ghana that still has MTN, it will be cheaper to use your MTN there. But if you go to countries that don't even have that network that you're trying to roam on, they are going to borrow an infrastructure, an international infrastructure to use for you to be able to use your internet there. And that makes the data expensive. So that is my own explanation.
Thank you. I mean, it's quite logical. I've never thought about it that way, and I'm glad I'm having a little bit of insight more. It's getting a little bit clearer and it's making sense. But
Okay.
the funny thing here is I seem to pay more when I roam within Africa. It's cheaper for me outside Africa. I don't know if it's about me or
Yes. Do you also pay more when you travel within Africa? When you fly within Africa, do you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of
That's a given.
flight costs, do you notice that you pay
Yeah.
more when you travel within Africa
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
than when you travel within Europe?
Yes.
So I think we as Africans need to actually come together and find how to make things easier and cheaper for us. Same way it applies to, like what I said, when you travel within Europe. In Europe, when you're traveling let's assume you go to Spain or to Rome. If you want to go to neighboring countries, other European countries, there are different routes you could go. You could go with bus, you could go with train, you could go with plane. And if you look at the cost, you will see how cheap it is. In fact, you can go to a country and come back the same day, and you will not even spend up to £100 or €100. But to travel from Nigeria to even Ghana here now, you see how much it is. So I think we as Africans just need to come together and help ourselves. So it doesn't just apply to internet costs, it applies to almost everything. Mohammed Sani, please proceed.
Okay. Okay.
Or am I done with
Thank
answering
you.
your question, ma'am?
Yeah, let me not take more of our time because I'm just still trying to, but because I'm like, okay, will we say it goes beyond just using foreign infrastructure? So, because I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes if you say like roaming within Africa, it now goes beyond just using foreign infrastructure. These are like policies
Mm-hmm.
thing that we need to also look at as Africans to help ourselves. Because truly, it's not so sweet when you are doing things
No,
within
it's
Africa.
not. It's not.
Friendly at all.
Yeah.
It's not friendly.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate your
Thank you,
explanation.
ma'am. Mohammed Sani,
Yes, good evening, ma'am.
good evening, sir.
You mentioned the access to internet using optic fiber cables. But as it were, there is also the option of using satellites, just like Elon Musk's Starlink. So
I
in the
mentioned the satellites. The
okay, you
fiber
mentioned
optic option was the second layer that I mentioned, which is the distribution layer. So the third layer was mentioned, the satellites, Starlink was mentioned at this third layer.
okay. I wanted to ask which is better in terms of cost and sustainability. Is it the optic fiber or the
So which is
satellite?
better?
Yes.
Okay. Which is better? Fiber is better. Fiber is 1,000 times better than the satellites. But because we face, if I say that's in terms of, I don't know how to put this now. In terms of speed of internet, your fiber is better because fiber is like light. What is inside fiber is like glass. So it's like light. Your internet is extremely fast. The problem with the fiber is number one, to lay the fiber. There are issues that we face especially in Nigeria, when it comes to laying of fiber. You have this right of way issue that's, is a real bottleneck to a lot of, telecommunications, and you have a lot of fiber cuts that happen. I think it's only one state, the Niger states, that have even waived of right of way. I stand to be corrected, but I know I read somewhere that Niger states have waived of right of way, and
Coincidentally, that's
telecommunications
my
would.
state.
Sorry.
I say coincidentally, that's my state.
Okay, so your governor has tried, I think, in that one. But a lot of states still find it, you need to have permissions, you need to have a lot of approvals to be able to pass your cable, your fiber through that state to wherever you're going to. That's one. Number two, we have a lot of fiber cuts in Nigeria, a whole lot. In fact, NCC has a site. What's the name of that site now? Just escaped my brain. NCC has a site right now where if there are fiber cuts, are aware that things like this are already happening. So to lay cable, that right of way to lay cable is very expensive. There are now issues of fiber cuts, so you will always either be fixing your fiber cables or things like that. Except people are now, we need a lot of literacy in that aspect so that these things do not happen all the time. But when it comes to your satellites, when you mount it, you have mounted it. Nobody's going to come and say, we cut it, this one happened, that. You almost always have internet. I know sometimes the Starlink goes off, but it doesn't stay off for too long. Your Starlink is up, you have internet. And I think they even have the smaller ones. It's something that is mobile now. You can even move it to, if maybe you need to travel and you need it anyway, you can go with it. So there are the upsides and the downsides, as opposed to the number of people that will connect to your fiber. So is also a challenge. You could have a large number connect to your fiber as opposed to your Starlink, which can take a minimum number. So those are the pros and cons that you have to check. Of course, it's cheaper to have the Starlink and not as cheap to have the fiber, but in terms of speed, in terms of reliability, your fiber is what I would recommend.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, sir. Mr. Philip Nanto, please unmute your mic and ask your question. I see your hand up.
Good evening, Ma.
Good evening, sir.
This is a very insightful presentation. But unfortunately, I was following, and along the line, my data service got exhausted, and I was unfortunately locked out. I don't know if I possibly, as the meeting is ending, maybe you drop a recorded copy.
No, but this meeting is being recorded and it's going to be, I think the link will be shared. The secretary would, and the PRO will have all of that in your groups. I think there's also, it should be live streamed on our YouTube as well, so you can always go back to watch it.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Do we have any other question? So if we don't have any other question, if we do not have any other question, do I have Mr. Akimbo on this call or Mr. Brakindo on this call if you want to take any other question as regards the fellowship? Do anybody have any questions with regards to the entire school so far? Okay, I want to assume none because I'm not seeing any hand. Okay, so if that's the case, I think we've come to the end of this webinar. I sincerely appreciate everyone who has joined us, who have listened in, who have asked questions.
I think
Sorry,
there are two hands up.
please, I can't
Is it?
see the hands. Who and who?
I can see Ira Abdurrahman and Philip Nanto.
Yes.
I just stopped to Philip now. Okay, okay.
Good evening, and thank you for simplifying this C2 action plan. I was struggling a bit to understand it, but you've simplified it, and I think I have an understanding to a level. So I would appreciate the slide. You said you were going to prepare it. I wouldn't mind having it as well, to go through it and then
Okay,
have
are you in the
a
group
deeper
are you in the
understanding.
group discussing the C2?
No,
Oh,
no.
okay.
But
Okay.
since is the recording going to be made available to everyone or just the group discussing it?
No. It's going to make made available to everyone. It's not just. I was just asking to tease you. I wanted to say.
Okay, that's fine. I wanted to confirm the name of the main one CEO. You said she's Funke who?
Funke Opeke. Oh God, no, let me
Um,
not destroy her. Funke
Opeke, I think.
Opeke.
I
Opeke.
understand.
Thank
Yeah, so another question is that the satellite internet, right? The Starlinks and co. Is it literally from the satellite or it was just coined as such?
It is literally from the satellite.
From
That is why
space.
it is everywhere. It can be in remote places. You will still connect. And that is why when you deploy it, you have to point it and face it to the
To the
sky so
satellite.
that you will connect. So yes. So it's actually literally to a satellite provider
Okay,
or
so I was just
technology.
wondering why the fiber is named better when it has a lot of challenges. And these challenges we may not be able to totally control, like the ones you mentioned that sometimes it is porous to vandalism and thieves and all of that. and then, the maintenance of the infrastructure, like maybe like the cell towers, and then approval and monitoring and all of that. I think these challenges cannot, or let me not be too pessimistic. I think these challenges may not totally be surmounted, right? So I don't know. It's not a game of winning or losing here, but I think the satellite internet, if we have many of it and enough subscribers using that, may allow more internet access and affordability. While the fiber cables can be probably maintained by the governments themselves and other big guns, if you ask me. Thank you.
Okay, what I will say to this is it depends on where you are deploying. It depends on the number of users you're targeting. It also depends if you okay, when I say where you're deploying, also depends if you need things like public IPs, things like how do I put it? I don't know how, I don't want to go too deep, but it depends on a lot of things, and that will inform your preference for which would solve your solution. So let me
Yeah, I
just leave it at
understand.
that. It just depends on
Yes,
a whole lot
I
of, it
understand.
depends on
There are
your
some
needs.
comments in the chat. I've been following them.
Unfortunately, I can't, I don't know what, I think I need to update my Zoom. I can't read the
Okay,
chat. I can
can I
see
just read
20.
it to you? I think like 3 or
Okay,
4
thank
chats,
you.
something like that. So one says, Moayed says, I think he was commenting on what the other madam was talking about, her challenges when she was traveling. He said, but when you go to places like Niger, MTN is operating with the name of Orange and Etisalat operating as Move, MOOV, but still that the roaming charges are applied. So I think he's trying to ask what happens in that situation.
That's the African thing.
Oh, okay. So there's another comment that says from Mr. Olatunde Olafimiho. It says, regulatory challenges and network agreements most times is the reason why costs of roaming in Africa is higher. Okay, he's just trying to explain better. Then
Yeah.
Samaila Bako says there was the 2020 agreement to drop the price from as high as 6,000 per meter and cap it at 145 per meter. Adoption is the issue. I think he's talking about some government agreements there.
So those are some of the things that we face. So we have a lot of to be honest with us, we have a lot of good policies in Nigeria. But like he said, adoption is like our problem, or enforcement, or ensuring that if like the enforcement now, so people that do not comply, what happens? So if I don't comply and I see that they are not doing anything to me, I sure I no
Continue
go
not
continue or
complying.
make my profits if it's a business, things like that. So if we have good adoption, good enforcement, people are saying that if you fail to not comply, this is what happens to you. It affects your business, it affects this and that. Little by little, everybody's going to adjust. But because, the
Nothing is
enforcement
being
part is
done.
taking
Yeah.
us longer than usual.
So there's
So
one
these are
last chat. There's one
wants you
last
guys
comment.
to help us,
Yeah.
bring out and talk about in the school too. Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, so this person, Samaila, was just trying to clarify to me that the satellite also has its own issues, like disruption from weather, the setup and subscription costs, limited number of users, and cost of the satellites that tend to crash a lot. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Also issues to satellites is the airspace regulations, depending on area of deployment. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there are different airspace regulations depending on where you're deploying. So if you are deploying in Nigeria, you have to know the regulations that are for us. If you are deploying in Europe, what are the regulations that exist? You have to familiarize yourself so that you don't put yourself in trouble.
Nice. Thank you very much. That's all. I think there are two other hands raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for reading those. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you. Please, if your hand is raised, I can't see any hand from my side.
Bell and
Hello.
Ibrahim.
Okay, yes. Thank you very much, Irat. So, speaking on what Irat said, between fiber optics and the satellite internet, using Starlink in particular, uh, fiber optics is better because of the benefits such as speed. Um, the basically latency is super low, and that's what we want to communicate faster. The satellite, however, is not as fast as the fiber optic. And then, like the regulations we're talking about, particularly in Nigeria, if you think about it, there's regulation that limit you getting access to even the Starlink, because you can't just get your Starlink and you get access.
Sorry, is it me or there's no one talking right now?
No one
Maybe
is
he's having
talking.
a problem.
That should be his network.
Probably the demonstration of network issues.
Even our host today is no longer here. But she's here, Priscilla Igba. I can see two Priscilla Igbas here.
It's no longer here.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There is one hand on till now.
I had network issue. Wait, I'm connecting on two
It's a
devices.
general network outage.
Okay, so